Hello everyone and welcome back to Roscale Sandbox. Yes, today we are back and we are going to be continuing with where we left off in our last episode. Which, if you didn't see, we built this very nice trench that came all the way over here, and then we let the track go into this nice tunnel. And now today, we need to continue with the tunnel on the other side. So I think we should start building. The first thing we need to do is extend out this base so I can actually start walking down here. And you know what? I do actually want this tunnel to continue on for quite a while. So let's also extend the ballast of the track. And now we can come and extend the rails. Okay, before we do anything else in pulling out this tunnel, I do just want to make a little bit more terrain over this side because I keep falling off the edge and I have to go all the way back round to try and get back up here. And I'm only going to bring the terrain up to about this point. And I'm going to place a second bit of terrain here that's just a bit lower than the others. So today, I really want to build a lake here. And then you've got the tracks that will come round along the side of the lake. And I think it would be really cool if we added a little cliff so that the tracks were right next to the shoreline. But that will all come a little bit later. First of all, we have to finish adding this tunnel. So first of all, we need to extend out the sides. And now we can pull out the terrain either side. So I feel like before we fill in the rest of this terrain, we should probably put on the front of the tunnel so we sort of know what we're working with. And that is going to be pretty easy because all I'm going to do is copy this little thing over. And you know what? I think I've managed to select everything there. So if I group that and then copy it and pull it up, let me just see if I've got everything. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So now I can take this tunnel end and bring it to the other side here. And voila, you would never know that I just copied that over. The transition is seamless. That looks really, really nice. Apart from this piece, which is sticking through. Let me just fix that quickly. So my plan is to have a cliff wall along this edge and then a little platform for where the trains are going to run, probably curving around this way. And then I'm going to have the lake here and another cliff wall that will sort of come round here like this. And then we'll have a lake in this area here. And that should provide a really nice view from when you pop out of the tunnel and it's like suddenly there's a lake there and you're going past and it should look really nice. However, the first thing we've got to do is cover up this entire section here. Now, of course, we don't have to build a perfect hill because trains at this point will be trapped in the tunnel and won't be able to see anything. However, we still need to make the transition look really nice. So first of all, I'm going to hide this gap by putting in another wedge. There we go. That's looking pretty nice. And it hasn't come and stuck into the tunnel, which is also really good. So now at either ends, we can bring these big spheres and just sort of smoothen it out a little. And while something like that isn't the most perfect looking terrain, all we need it to do is just fill in the gaps, and that's looking pretty nice. So now we've cleaned up that area, we can start work on the terrain over here. First of all, I want to start by adding in this little cliff edge here. And of course, we are going to use these cliff wedge pieces to achieve that. So let's just start with a little bit of curving. And to be honest, this is just going to be very simple. You know, it could just be a straight cliff, but I don't want to be that boring, you know. I want to make it more organic and feel natural. In fact, before I get any further with this, I want to build the shape of the track so I know how to follow the curve. Because yeah, I don't want this track to come out straight. I want it to sort of curve around this way. And I'm going to swap the increment back to 5 degrees so we get a nice smooth curve. Okay, I'm really happy with a curve that looks something like that. And this means that the lake will also have a natural curve to it as well. So now I've just got to put a piece of terrain that will curve, or not curve, but bend with the track. And I don't need this to be too circular because I will put in a cliff wall that will make this look a whole lot more organic. So now I've seen where the track is going, I can definitely bring this cliff a little bit closer. Okay, so that's the cliff done this side of the track. Now I need to go and do the cliff this side of the track, which is where the lake is going to be. Okay, so that is about the shape that I want to create. I've left like a little sharp turn here, so I'm going to try and put in a corner wedge, and let's see if we can fit this into this gap. You know what? That's pretty slick, and I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, this is about the shape of the lake. And from here, I'm going to have it sort of be more of a flat edge rather than a cliff edge. And the same is going to happen for this side as well. But before we do that, we do need to fill in all of these little gaps. So let's get doing that. And of course, we are going to be using the cylinder technique, which is my favorite. So now the cylinders are in, we need to fill in the gaps in between. And now with the top layer done, we can move down onto the bottom. And there we go. You know, I feel like the more I do this, the better I get at it. And like the more practice I have. And it's starting to look really nice and organic. Okay, and now with all the gaps filled in, we can start adding in the rest of the edges of this lake. First of all, I'm just going to have a little bit of just, you know, the normal grass. And then I've brought it back into this little cove over here. And then from the other side, we're just going to sort of do the same thing. However, there are a couple sections where I want the edge of the lake to be made out of cylinders. And this, you know, just creates a really, really nice organic circular feel. And then once again, just in this little section, I'm going to add the cliffs back. And this way we get a whole load of really nice variation. And there we go. We are left with a really organically shaped lake with, you know, lots of different edges. And I think this will end up looking really, really nice. So I think before we get the water in, we just need to smooth out some of the edges, particularly the bits where the cliffs transition to the more flatter grass. And of course, I'm going to be doing that with these incredible terrain spheres. Once again, I've just made them a little bit smaller because we do not need them to be this large. And there we go. Suddenly, we have got a really nice lake with lots of smooth edges, transitions, and this is going to be really, really cool. Now, there is one tiny more thing that I want to do before we put the water in, and that is add a little bit of sand. Now, you might be thinking, hold up a minute, sand on a lake? And I know, I thought that at first until I experimented with it a couple months ago. Now, if you haven't seen the Valley video, I very much go and suggest you watch it because we built this valley with this gorgeous winding river. And I was like, you know what? It just needs a bit of color. It's not really popping. And the sand, it just brought something out and it's really, really nice. So I feel like we should add a few little sections of sand to this lake. And I'm just going to come back over here and grab the correct color. And there we go. We've got a little bit of sand. Now I'm going to add this in a couple of other places around the lake. And hopefully this should look really nice. And I know I said that was the final thing, but there is just one more thing I need to do before we put the water on. And that is, of course, change the bottom of this lake. Because when do you ever have grass on the bottom of a lake? We're going to put in some nice grey pebbles. And to be honest, once again, I'm going to use the same color as we did under here. Let me try that again. I'm going to try and grab that grey. Perfect. And there we go. Now I've got a perfect lake with some gorgeous edges, some nice sandbanks, and a nice pebble bottom. Right, we can finally start putting the water in. And there we have it. You know what? I don't really like the water level being this high up, so let me just lower everything down a little bit. And that is it. We now have our lake in. So there are a couple other things that I want to do today. First of all, we need to continue this cliff edge past the tunnel and all the way around so it meets up over here. Okay, so we've got the cliff in. Now we need to add in the terrain behind it. All right, and with that done, there is now only a couple more things that I need to do. First of all, we need to extend the track all the way out to the end of the lake. There we go. That is looking pretty good. And now I need to do the same effect here as I did over here. And that is add in, you know, the whole rolling hills of England kind of thing. There we go. And once again, I have had to leave a gap between them up here where obviously we don't want them poking in through the tunnel. I think I might go in and add another layer of cliffs at the top just to bridge the gap between this little sphere here and this sphere here. Okay, and with that sorted, the only thing left to do is just add in, you know, a little wedge between these two to fill in the gap. And there you have it. That is looking like the terrain is pretty much complete for this area now. So one final thing to do now, and that is add in all of the bushes, trees, foliage, you know, the normal stuff. And there we go. Once again, it's received the typical treatment of bushes, trees, and these sort of red and brown bits to add a little bit more color. Well, there we go. That is all we have time for today. I've got some very exciting stuff planned for next episode over here. So make sure you don't miss that. But otherwise, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and I will hopefully see you again very, very soon. Goodbye.